Ride around, windows down, yeah, with the radio. She's the kind that makes you want to drop your plans.
Welcome everyone to this week's episode of Unrooted Women's Volleyball Edition. And my guest for this week's show is none other than junior opposite on the women's volleyball team here at Menlo College, Kristen Whitney. Kristen, thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, as we do on every Unrooted, we like to go hard-hitting right away from the very first question. I learned from an anonymous source that your childhood nickname was/is SQUEAKer.
Yes.
Do explain how this came about, because I'm very eager to hear this story.
So, as a baby, I apparently made little squeaky noises and before I could talk, so the name just stuck. And my siblings called me Squeaker Bob, Squeaker Bobberino. There was just a whole trend of them. And my dad would always, and he still does, calls me Squeak or Squeaker on the court and off the court.
That's great. So it's kind of like a legendary nickname.
Yeah.
But where did Squeaker Bob come from? Where did the whole Bob and Bobberino, that's a little random.
I think my siblings were just being silly and trying to make it one-up my dad with the nickname, so yeah.
Haha, our nickname is better than yours, Squeaker Bob.
Yep.
So do your teammates, I mean, if they didn't know before, they know now that your nickname was and is Squeaker. Did they know about this beforehand?
I don't think so. I think maybe some of them knew because I talked to Denise about it, but no one calls me Squeak on the team.
Probably a good thing, I would say.
Yeah.
But if anyone on the team knew about this nickname and did not tell me about this beforehand, come on, guys, what are you doing? I got to know this. This is golden information that I needed to know weeks ago and not now, because that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But don't worry, on any of the broadcasts, I will not call you Squeak.
You can call me Squeak.
Squeaker. No, that's not professional. Squeaker Bob, maybe. That might get thrown in at some point.
That's true.
But I'll try to refrain from doing that and focusing primarily on volleyball when it comes to you. But we'll see how that goes. Now, another thing that I know about you is that you enjoy camping. Someone told me that a couple weeks back on Unrooted, you like being in the outdoors, and I'm sure that was actually something that was a huge benefit for you going up to Montana State Billings for one season. How often do you try to go camping, and what's your favorite part about being outdoors?
So I would say I try to go camping whenever we can, but we're pretty busy. We have a place up in Montana. It's my grandparents' ranch, so it's not really camping. It's just being in Montana and being in the outdoors. So I kind of just like being outdoors and not being in the city all the time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't really like the big city life myself. What part of Montana? I don't know my Montana geography, but I have a housemate from Hamilton,
Okay.
and I have kind of relatives in Whitefish.
Okay. So where my parents' place is called, in a little town called Lincoln, and it's in between Helena and Missoula.
Okay.
And Billings, where I went, is on the very far of the east.
Okay.
So I was still like 5 hours away from my grandparents my freshman year.
Okay. So you're nowhere near anywhere that I know of.
No.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, it was worth the shot. And I bet, Big Sky Country, obviously the nickname, and I'm sure it's very
beautiful.
Accurate, right?
Yeah.
How tough is it to leave when you go out there for a visit?
Oh, it's so tough because it's so peaceful and you have cell service, but it's just different. You can always be on your phone. There's Wi-Fi, there's Netflix, everything like that. But normally you're just working on the ranch or driving tractors or doing other fun stuff.
You don't need any of those
Yeah.
other distractions. It's a very simple life, and it seems like you're the same way. It's the right life. It's
Yep.
perfect up there. I would love to just retire to Montana one day, except maybe not for the winter. I don't really want to deal with the...
It's not too bad.
Is it not?
Well, it depends on where you are. So in Billings, it snows a ton and gets super, super cold. And Lincoln snows, but it stays cold, so it doesn't snow as often.
Okay. Maybe I could deal with the cold. I don't know, but
Yeah.
the snow, when you mix in the snow and the cold together and
Yeah.
you get some bad snowstorms.
It melts throughout the whole snow season, though. It
Does
comes
it?
and goes, yeah.
Okay. So it's in waves.
And the house, we set the house to be 75, so you're just walking around in shorts.
Oh, you have that kind of technology
Yeah.
out there. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Because I know, even where my aunt and uncle live in Whitefish, they don't even have TV.
Oh no,
Like they have nothing.
Ours is pretty
Modernized.
Yeah, we have a townhouse and a cabin. We have multiple properties up there, but the main house is just like a regular house, just in the middle of the woods.
Okay. That's my kind of way of living out in the woods, that's for sure. All right, now let's talk about the team here a little bit, Kristen. Things have been rolling so well for the Oaks the past couple of weeks that when last week you lost a couple times in 5 sets, it was kind of a really big surprise. How would you assess the way that the team played this past week, knowing that, yeah, you lost both, but you took them to 5 in some pretty exciting matches?
So I would say both Wednesday and Saturday, we started off fine, just like we normally do. And what was the difference is just we made more mistakes than we normally do. And I think we do a better job at bouncing back from the mistakes earlier on. And Wednesday, definitely, we struggled with that. So I think just being a little bit more focused and wanting to dominate each team.
Nice.
So I think this upcoming week, a little bit more focused and we're ready to get back because we don't like the feeling of losing.
No, absolutely not. But I'm sure you like the feeling of playing at home on Saturday night to wrap up Oktoberfest against Jessup, because that crowd was quite possibly the loudest crowd I have ever heard in Haynes Prim. And it wasn't even completely packed. It was like 75% packed, but that place was electric on Saturday night. What adjustments did you ladies make to come back from being down 2-0 and then having the crowd behind you and forcing a 5th set? That was awesome.
Yeah, so we were very thankful for the crowd. I think that definitely boosted our confidence and excitement for the game. Basically, we just reevaluated what Jessup was doing to us. We were really trying to slow down their outside hitters and force them to be out of system more, because that's what we do better on defense as. And so I think just refocusing, and as we know, we came back and took it to 5, and I think it was just a really well thought out match.
Yeah, and you've been able to do that virtually against every opponent in the entire conference in the country this season, and there are only 6 conference games left in the regular season, so a lot can change left between now and the standings. I mean, you took 1 loss on Saturday that dropped you from 2nd to 5th based on tiebreaker, so everyone's jumbled up right now. What's the message in practice when the standings are brought up right now?
So basically, it's anyone's game. So you can show up and, like we found out, you can lose or you can win, and it's anyone's game. Really just at practice, we're getting after every ball, pretending like it's a game or match point, and just really taking every team seriously and getting after everything.
Now, the Oaks will put that to the test this weekend as you go on the road to take on the Arizona schools, a couple of teams that Menlo already beat at home this season. What's the key to going on the road and beating them again this time?
I think just starting off strong, running our offense as fast as we can. We do better when we go on runs, obviously. And I think just staying disciplined on our fundamentals. And I think we can take both of them.
Play Menlo volleyball and don't go down 2 sets to none.
Yeah.
That's usually a pretty good approach to winning a volleyball match.
Exactly.
All right, Kristen, let's get into the final segment of the show. It's called Brownie Bites. I'm going to ask you 3 off-the-wall questions. Give me your best answers.
Okay.
Question number 1, which teammate will now give you the hardest time that your childhood nickname is and was Squeaker?
I'd probably have to say Abby, just because her and I are besties, and she's gonna just kind of make fun of me a little bit, just because we always laugh and are silly together, so we kind of make fun of each other all the time.
Well, of course, it's in the healthy way because you're such close friends, but
Yeah.
it surprises me because she was on here last week, and she just seems like she has nothing bad to say about anybody. Like, I'm sure there's a humorous side there somewhere that maybe we didn't unlock, but I just feel like she's too nice to actually like make fun of someone for that.
Yes, well, she has very dry humor, but she gets silly, and we like to feed off of each other, so we have fun.
That works. Question number 2, which teammate would struggle the most setting up a tent?
Ooh, I would have to say probably Nicole, just because I don't think she likes the outdoors that much, and she's dramatic like me, so we would both probably in the same boat, just that we'd get frustrated and then laugh and make a big deal out of it.
Can you do it though?
I can. I like to have help though, just in case I have those dramatic moments.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also much easier to set up a tent when there's
Yeah.
multiple people as opposed to
'Cause
just
then
one.
the pole breaks in the middle, and then you have to restart. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
whole spiel.
Exactly. It's like when we're hosting events here on campus and we have our little pop-up canopies that theoretically should require 4 people to put one up, one on each leg, right? Well, you can do it with 2 people.
Yeah.
You can do it with 1 as well. It's not easy, but it's doable.
Yeah.
And as long as you're able to just not get dramatic, be calm. Don't channel my inner Kristen or Nicole,
Exactly.
and things will be fine. And then question number 3, the last brownie bite of the Unrooted women's volleyball season. Which teammate would you want on your shoulders during a joust? Because I'm assuming you would be on the bottom in this
would be
scenario
on the
since you're so
bottom.
tall.
I would have to say Jaden, because she's feisty and would want to win, and she'd be fun. She'd be silly, and I don't know, it'd just be fun. We'd be laughing the whole time, even if we lost.
That doesn't sound like you're focused. That doesn't sound like you're focused and ready to actually duel it out. And she's also an interesting choice because she's also very tall.
Yeah, but then we would both be tall, so we'd just dominate the other partners.
That's true, especially if you have a matchup of like Lucy and Janae on the other
Exactly.
side. Like, that's a mismatch right there. All you have to do is just run into them and they're going to topple over.
Yeah.
And then you're probably going to fall on top of them, and then we have a winner. I don't know why they would ever joust, but
Yeah.
who cares? It's fun to think about. Kristen, thanks for joining me on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome, folks. The women's volleyball team, they're on the road this weekend, taking on OUAZ on Friday night down in Surprise, and then the short trip to Phoenix to wrap up the weekend in Arizona as they take on Arizona Christian on Saturday afternoon. Then they'll come back home for the final time during the 2019 regular season, take on Westmont and the Masters Senior Day weekend inside Haynes Prim Pavilion. Well, that'll do it for our coverage of Unrooted women's volleyball here during the 2019 season. We thank you so much for tuning in all season long. So Kristen has the easy job. She doesn't have to pick anybody for next week, which is unfortunate because I was really hoping that maybe we could get some really, really good commentary from, I don't know, maybe Denise Sheldon to wrap up the year, but I'll have to save that interview for another time. So folks, thanks for tuning in all season long. Basketball and wrestling episodes will be dropping in November, so stay tuned for that. And until then, have a great rest of your weekend, and go Oaks.
She's the kind of